Welcome back to another video on Gearsaw Studios, and today I'm going to be showing you how to build a Panopticon, because normal prisons these days kinda don't cut it, and when there's only so many guards to go around, you kinda lose out on that efficiency, and sometimes some prisoners can get the bright idea of just announcing
This prison to hold me.
before promptly breaking out of the prison, which is why Panopticons are necessary. However, before I begin, remember, please like and subscribe, and without further ado, onto the tutorial. In order to build one of these, you need a lot of deep slate blocks, chiseled, tiles, polished, perhaps even some bricks. Then, we need some spruce leaves to give it some landscaping while keeping it kinda menacing because spruce is of course constantly dark. Then, we got stone bricks in their cracked variant. You can include mossy, but I think it looks better without. Then an accent block of your choice. I'm choosing yellow concrete. And then some tinted glass and iron bars. You're going to need both of them, but mainly iron bars, because you need the tower in the middle where the guard is housed. Although I'm going to discuss how a Panopticon even functions later on. Now, in order to build our Panopticon, we need to choose the amount of cells we want. This is 5 cells right here, although it looks like 7 lines, because we need one on each side to act as a spiral staircase as a way to get up and down. And from here, you connect them at the corners, and you just make a broken line cube, well, just a square for now. Then you go 7 blocks up, and we can start building our cells from there. From here, we can see that I've started building a very simple cell design, and there isn't much to it. We just want to make a box, then we give the box sides. It should be 4 by 5, or depending on the dimensions, doesn't really matter, but you should be able to accommodate for a spiral staircase here. If you cannot fit one, then you need to make a design change. Evidently, I will not be able to fit one always, which means I'm going to have to cut off this block right here on some of the corners. I'm going to have them be opposite to each other, funnel the prisoners in case one tries escaping. And either way, you just want to build the cell, make it maybe 5-6 blocks tall, and give it a small iron bar window above the player's height, so at least 3 blocks, but 4 blocks is also good. From here, we have a simple cell. No door right now, mainly because having one in the middle would kinda defeat the purpose of having a Panopticon in the first place. And, some of the corners are cut off to accommodate for stairwells, might as well just build them later. From here, if you're in creative mode, you just want to copy this. As many as you can fit per row, and then 2 blocks apart, and then you can have another layer. I'm going to have 3 layers to this, and the whole idea of the Panopticon is that all the cells face the middle, where there is going to be a tower, so that way a singular guard of unknown position will always be able to watch. So that way it cuts cost and always make sure the prisoners, they always have the anxiety of knowing that, they're being watched, but not when. Although it's morally questionable and has been proven to fail on a mental and rehabilitation level, still, it's a rather effective prison. Therefore, make all the cells. Here we have a lot of cells, 60 cells to be exact, and we can see they all point inward, where we are going to have a tower later on. But the most important thing to take away from this is we now have an area to extend our foundation from. Because once you have this in, and the widening foundation and the accommodation of spiral staircases, we now have a basis to form that off of, and I know I'm going a little crazy here, but essentially we can build this 1 block outward without having mathematical issues. Therefore, that's exactly what we're going to do. Start by layering some deep slate to polished deep slate between these layers where the walls are on the inside, and when you do that and you reach this level, place down a stair so that way it's a little bit jutted outward and then go down. By doing that, you make the whole thing a little bit more interesting by making the bottom look more fortified. Now, one part has been jutted outward, and I started making a foundational design, and we can see, just from this one segment alone, having a different palette really does add something to the build. Although it's a very small portion now, still, make some unique designs. Mine kinda looks like a skull, which makes it look better. You know, Panopticons are very morally questionable, but still, we just continue this design and we go all around. But there is one thing to note, that one of the cells, depending on where your entrance is, might have to be destroyed. And there's even a chance you might want to destroy some of the cells on the corners here like this. Because, of course, even if you chop off one block, you still can't access the spiral staircases. Which, there are viable alternatives, but still, one of them is destroying the cells. So keep that in mind while you're doing the foundation. Whether you want the entrance to be down here and you go up through the tower to deliver prisoners, or it's on top and staff can enter the tower into storage. You can see I'm getting quite a bit of work done. The bottom wires are complete, excluding the entrance, but if I plan to copy paste this, it's better not to do that. And if you're just using structure blocks to complete each side, then skip the entrance. For now, we just want to do the upper layers, so that way it's only 4 copy paste rather than having to do each layer. Which means, you know, make your own design up here. You can use some polished basalt. I think it looks pretty good, even though it's a little unexpected for me to do so. But if you connect them up, it looks good. Although you might want to avoid using the same accents on the bottom, because of course it kind of detracts from the armored feel of the bottom by having it all look armored, so you might want to make the accents a little bit more flat. Now we have a lot of the accents on the Panopticon, and we can see they're very thick, one piece of concrete, and then you have a semicircle, well it's a circle but as small as you can around it, and then you stack some stairs, 3 of them on the top and 3 of them on the bottom, and it looks really good. You used some chiseled deep slate and polished basalt, and now we have something that looks pretty varied. From here, what you want to do is 1. Over the entrance, you might want to replace the accents with an eye, using white concrete to give it that Minecraft eye texture feel, and then from there, you want to do the accents on top, and they should go higher than the build itself. Although this is a basically remake of the prison, it's still a good example of what you could do. These are very simple, but you see how they go up, and they're a little spiky looking. Do the same thing for your Panopticon. Now, we have all of the framing in, and we can see it's looking pretty good. Although there is one thing you might want to change before you put it on all 4 sides, and that is the accent color. Having one consistent accent throughout the build can get a little repetitive, so you might want to add some other ones into there. Although this is optional, I still highly recommend it. But remember, darker colors go on the bottom and lighter colors go on top, because that gives the illusion that your build is taller than it actually is. And it works pretty well. But you can see on the roof, some of the parts are actually a little further out than the lower layers, and a little bit scarier looking, kind of like a wrought iron fence on top. But either way, experiment with accent colors, and then transport this on all 4 sides. Now, we have the majority of the Panopticon's exterior, which means we can start getting down to business on the interior. As you can see, all 4 corners are done, and we're really just missing a staircase and a small amount of texturing and landscaping. For our texturing, what we want to do is just cracked deep slate bricks, well, tiles, and their cracked version for stone bricks. That's all you need to do for texturing. Very simple. just long arcing strands. Then, on the staircase part, well, you just build a staircase. More deep slate tiling, and as you go, you just get lower and lower. It's not very complicated, and for the railing, you used polished deep slate. Then you build your doorway, which of course is more deep slate, but if you are able to do all this detailing on the outside, I have no doubt you can do the entrance. Some cracked bricks have been added for texturing, and we can see the exterior is done. On the interior, I've made sure to do the ceiling and the floor for cracked bricks. However, I did not do the insides of cells, mainly because it would take a very long time. And, not many people are going to see that part. Which means if you're strapped for resources, you can skip that part, although I would still recommend trying to if you have the resources. For the cell doors, you can add them, but if you're not doing a role play, then I'd recommend skipping out on those considering they're kind of expensive to add. But, disregarding those other things, we now have two things left to do. We need to, 1, check to see if the lighting's okay in here. I had to place down this lantern because it was too dark, which means we're going to have to add more lanterns, but we'll get to that soon. And we need to build a tower in the middle. So using the rest of the blocks in the palette, such as polished andesite, stone bricks, some deep slate as well, we want to build a square tower in the middle, and it should go slightly above the second floor, so right about this Y level. Although you might want to go a little bit taller. Now, I've constructed a small tower here, and with this tower, we can do two things on the top of it. Either we can make it a true Panopticon and put a glass dome over it, or just anything with tinted glass, so that way you can't tell who's looking at you or when. Or you can put a ghast in a minecart. By having a ghast in a minecart, well, it's always looking because that's how Mob AI works, and whoever happens to get looked at promptly is met with fireballs. Although, I'm going to just do the more traditional method of a Panopticon. So, I'm going to build some windows on this, and remember, they must be tinted or black. The whole idea is the fact that you never know when the guard is looking, which gives you constant anxiety and prevents you from doing anything malicious. The Panopticon's tower is complete. We can see cracked bricks, accents, some stuff that looks like eyes, and the actual dome. For the dome, that's where the guard is, and you want it to be dark on the inside, even after everything is done, because that kind of defeats the purpose if you can see the guard. The whole idea of the Panopticon is that you can't see the guard, therefore you're forced to self-regulate. From here, in order to solve the rest of the lighting issues, we want to go to the ceiling a couple blocks out from the corner of your tower, and you want to make a chain going down a couple of blocks with a lantern at the end of it. You can make them different heights, or you can make them all the same height. That's up to you. And then we'll be down to our final two steps. We'll need some storage under the tower, and then we'll need walkways. Although I said I was going to do spiral staircases later on here, it seems like that would just be much too inconvenient to actually do. So just place a spiral staircase in front of one of the cells, and that will solve your issues. The lighting has been added, and you may notice that I've still left quite a bit of this place dark, and that is so that way it's, a little foreboding. This place isn't, the Panopticon of happiness. No, this is a prison that has been deemed morally incorrect by many. So, you don't want to keep it really bright in here. Add a little darkness, makes it more intimidating. But, for now, make a spiral staircase somewhere. You can do it in the corners, you can do it in front of a cell, although that mildly invalidates the Panopticon, but at the same time, with the angle I built this at, yeah, it's near impossible to see the bottom row, so yeah, this isn't very effective unless you make it larger, but either way, make the spiral staircase up, and then make a small pathway going around all the cells like this. And then, you want to decorate it the same way you've done the tower and the exterior. Although, you might want to shrink it down a little so that way it still fits. With our walkways now in place, we now have a functioning Panopticon. Although the way I built it, limits its functionality a little by, making it very hard to see the lower floors because it's also compact. So if you haven't started yours yet, consider making yours a little bit larger or your tower a little bit shorter. Then we have, of course, all of our cells, very small cells, nothing too much to cover. We just have string, carpet floating on the string, stairs, a half-empty cauldron, all the normal things. And although it's very dark down here, sorry mobile users, there's one thing left to do, and I'm just going to give myself night vision. We need to make a small storage room down here, which means stone bricks, polished andesite for a trim, deep slate tiles on the ground, and then some boxes. And boxes are simple. There's a lot of ways you can do it, but you could even just have supply shelves like this, where you have random things, although this is a factory. Or you can have crates like these, of course, with a more varied wood design. In the storage room, we can see cracked walls, some simple storage, nothing much you'd need. You only need food and some self-defense in case a revolt ever happens. Because, well, think about it. What's there to do here? It's not like there's weights like in a normal prison. There's literally nothing to do. Except you are constantly being watched, which is why we have this dark tower over here. On the outside, it's very well fortified, which means
You can't escape.
from this Panopticon. And I should probably stop with those voice lines, but still, they're way too funny. But either way, if you have way too much time on your hands, or are planning to build a prison, and especially a well-fortified one, I'd recommend building the Panopticon. It's much more effective than a normal prison, although it's very morally questionable. But this is Minecraft. We don't have to worry about ethics here. And with that, it's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed this video, remember, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Either way, enjoy the rest of your day. Gearsaw out.